The Misguided Mission, a demon slayer sleep story. In the quiet town nestled within the mountains, where the air was always crisp and the scent of pine trees filled the atmosphere, a sudden stillness had fallen over the bustling market square. The townsfolk, usually engaged in their daily routines, were whispering to one another, casting nervous glances toward the towering mansion of the local lord. Rumors had spread quickly. A demon had taken residence within the lord's home, and its presence had brought a cold shadow over the once warm and welcoming village. The lord, a man known for his kindness and generosity, had sent out a desperate plea for help. It wasn't long before the message reached the ears of the Demon Slayer Corps. Among those who received the call were Tanjiro, Nezuko, Zenitsu, and Inosuke. They were a team forged in the fires of battle, bonded by their common goal to rid the world of the demonic scourge that plagued it. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the landscape, the team prepared for their mission. Tanjiro, ever the leader, gathered his friends around him, his expression serious but calm. "We've been summoned to help a local lord. There's a demon in his mansion, and we need to deal with it swiftly. But remember, we must be careful. Demons are unpredictable, and we can't afford any mistakes." Zenitsu shivered slightly at the mention of a demon, but he nodded, trying to put on a brave face. I'll do my best, Tanjiro. But are you sure we're ready for this? I mean, a demon in a lord's house. It sounds dangerous." Inosuke, always eager for a fight, grinned beneath his boar's mask. "Dangerous? That's what makes it fun. I'll tear that demon apart with my bare hands." Nezuko, silent as always, gave a reassuring nod to her brother, her eyes filled with determination. With their resolve set, the team began their journey through the dense forest that separated the town from the lord's mansion. The path was narrow and winding, lined with ancient trees, whose branches intertwined overhead, creating a canopy that blocked out the moonlight. The only sounds were the crunching of leaves beneath their feet and the occasional hoot of an owl. As they walked, Tanjiro's keen senses picked up on something unusual. There was a scent in the air, faint but distinct, mingling with the natural aromas of the forest. It was the smell of fear, of desperation. But it didn't come from the direction of the mansion. Instead, it seemed to be emanating from a small, dilapidated house just off the path. "Wait," Tanjiro said, stopping abruptly. "There's something wrong. I smell fear. And it's coming from that house." Zenitsu's eyes widened in alarm. "Ah, a demon! Here! But we're not even at the mansion yet." Tanjiro shook his head. "No, it doesn't smell like a demon. It smells like a child. They're scared, and they need our help." Inosuke snorted. "Why waste time on a scared kid? We've got a demon to slay." But Tanjiro's expression was resolute. "We can't ignore this. If a child is in trouble, we need to help them first. The demon can wait." With that, the team veered off the path and made their way toward the old house. It was small and worn, with patches of moss covering the wooden walls and the roof sagging under the weight of years. The door was slightly ajar, creaking softly as it swayed in the breeze. Tanjiro gently pushed the door open and stepped inside, his senses alert. The interior was dark, with only the faint light of the moon filtering through the cracked windows. The air was thick with the scent of dust and decay. But underneath it all, Tanjiro could still smell that same fear, stronger now that they were closer. "Hello," Tanjiro called out softly. Is anyone here? For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from the shadows, a small voice responded, trembling with fear. Please, help me. Tanjiro followed the voice to a corner of the room, where he found a young boy huddled under a tattered blanket. The child couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old, his face pale and streaked with tears. It's okay, Tanjiro said gently, kneeling beside the boy. We're here to help. What's your name? The boy looked up at Tanjiro with wide, frightened eyes. My name is Hiro. I can't find my mama. She went out to get food, but she hasn't come back. I'm scared. I think there's something outside. Zenitsu, his earlier fear momentarily forgotten, knelt beside Tanjiro. Don't worry, Hiro. We'll find your mama and make sure you're safe. Right, Tanjiro? Tanjiro nodded, giving the boy a reassuring smile. That's right. We'll find your mama, Hiro, and we'll make sure nothing happens to you. Inosuke, who had been impatiently waiting by the door, huffed. Great, so now we're babysitters. What about the demon? We'll get to the demon, Tanjiro replied firmly. But this child needs our help first. And if there's something dangerous out there, we can't leave him here alone. With Hiro safely wrapped in Nezuko's protective embrace, the team set out to find his mother. They ventured back into the forest, Tanjiro leading the way, with his keen sense of smell guiding them through the darkness. The air was thick with tension, but there was also a strange sense of calm, as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As they moved deeper into the woods, the scent of fear began to fade, replaced by the familiar earthy smells of the forest. The tension in the air gradually dissipated, and a sense of peace settled over the group. Eventually, they came upon a small clearing where a woman lay unconscious beside a basket of foraged herbs. Tanjiro recognized her scent immediately. It was Hiro's mother. She was alive, but weak, as if something had drained her strength. Hiro, Tanjiro called softly, we've found your mama. Hiro's eyes lit up with relief as he saw his mother lying there. Mama! He cried, running to her side. The woman stirred at the sound of her son's voice, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw Hiro, she reached out weakly, pulling him into a gentle embrace. Hiro, I'm so glad you're safe. Tanjiro knelt beside them, his voice gentle and soothing. You both need to rest. We'll take you back to your home and make sure you're safe. The danger has passed. With the mother and child safely in their care, the team began the journey back to the old house. The forest, once filled with ominous shadows, now seemed calm and serene, as if it too had found peace. As they reached the house, Tanjiro felt a sense of accomplishment. They had helped those in need, and now they could focus on the demon that awaited them at the Lord's mansion. Little did they know, this detour had prepared them for the battle ahead, instilling in them a sense of calm and unity that would serve them well in the trials to come. The calm before the storm. After ensuring that Hiro and his mother were safe and secure, the Demon Slayer team resumed their journey toward the Lord's mansion. The night had deepened, the stars twinkling brightly in the sky above, casting a soft, silvery light over the landscape. The earlier tension had melted away, replaced by a sense of tranquility that seemed to seep into their very bones. Tanjiro led the way once more, his senses attuned to the environment around them. The path was clear, and the air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and earth. There was a quiet beauty to the night, a reminder that even in a world filled with darkness, moments of peace could still be found. Zenitsu, walking close behind Tanjiro, sighed contentedly. You know, it's nights like these that make me forget about all the scary stuff. The stars are so pretty, and the air is so fresh. It's hard to believe there's a demon waiting for us. Inosuke, for once, seemed to agree. Yeah, it's quiet. Too quiet. But I like it. It feels calm. Nezuko, always tuned to the mood of those around her, gave a soft, reassuring hum. Her presence was like a warm blanket on a cold night, comforting and steady. As they walked, the group came across a small, babbling brook that wound its way through the forest. The sound of the water was soothing, a gentle melody that added to the peaceful atmosphere. Without a word, they decided to take a short break by the brook, allowing themselves to soak in the tranquility of the moment. Tanjiro crouched by the water's edge, cupping his hands to drink from the clear, cool stream. The water was refreshing, invigorating him for the task ahead. As he drank, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey so far. They had faced countless dangers, but they had also found moments of peace, like this one that reminded him of the beauty of the world they were fighting to protect. Zenitsu, sitting nearby, watched the stars reflected in the water, his usual anxiety replaced by a rare sense of calm. You know, Tanjiro, he said softly, sometimes I wonder if all this fighting is worth it. But then I see nights like this, and I realize we're fighting to protect moments like this. It's kind of beautiful, isn't it? Tanjiro nodded, his gaze drifting over the serene landscape. It is, Zenitsu. This is why we fight. To protect the people we love and the peace that still exists in this world. As long as we can keep that in mind, we'll always have the strength to face whatever comes our way. Inosuke, who had been splashing water on his face, grunted in agreement. Yeah, enough with the mushy stuff. We've got a demon to hunt, but I guess this place isn't too bad. It's peaceful. Nezuko, sitting quietly beside her brother, watched the water flow with a serene expression. She didn't need words to convey her feelings. Her presence alone was a reminder of the peace they were fighting for. After a while, Tanjiro stood up, shaking the water from his hands. We should keep moving. The mansion isn't far now, and we need to be ready for whatever we find there. The others nodded, and with renewed determination, they set off once more, the calm of the forest lingering in their minds as they approached their destination. As they neared the Lord's mansion, the atmosphere began to change. The air grew colder, and a sense of unease settled over the group. The once serene forest now felt ominous, the shadows deeper, the sounds of the night more distant. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. The mansion loomed before them, a grand structure that had once been a symbol of power and wealth, but now stood as a dark silhouette against the night sky. The windows were dark, and the heavy wooden doors were closed, giving the impression that the building itself was holding secrets within. Tanjiro stopped at the entrance, his senses on high alert. The smell of blood and decay was faint but unmistakable, seeping from the cracks of the door like a dark miasma. He knew they were close to the demon now. This is it, Tanjiro said quietly, turning to his friends. Stay close and be ready for anything. We don't know what we'll find inside. Zenitsu swallowed hard, gripping his sword tightly. Right! We'll be okay, as long as we stick together. Inosuke, ever eager, pushed past Tanjiro and slammed his hands against the door. Enough talking! Let's get in there and kill that demon! With a creak, the heavy door slowly swung open, revealing the dark, empty hallway beyond. The air inside was stale, carrying with it the scent of something old and malevolent. The team stepped inside cautiously, their senses alert to every sound and movement. The mansion was eerily silent, the only sound, the faint creaking of the floorboards under their feet. The walls were lined with ancient tapestries and faded paintings, remnants of a time when the mansion was filled with life and laughter. Now, it was a place of shadows and memories, a tomb for the secrets it held. As they moved deeper into the mansion, Tanjiro's keen sense of smell guided them through the labyrinth of hallways and rooms. The scent of the demon grew stronger, mingled with the smell of fear and despair that lingered in the air. They finally arrived at a grand staircase leading up to the second floor, where the scent was strongest. Tanjiro paused at the foot of the stairs, his senses telling him that the demon was close, very close. Before they could take another step, a low, rumbling voice echoed through the mansion, sending chills down their spines. So the little demon slayers have finally arrived. I've been expecting you. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, reverberating through the walls and floor. It was deep and filled with malice, the kind of voice that sent a shiver down to the very core. Zenitsu's eyes widened in fear, but he forced himself to stay calm, gripping his sword even tighter. Where is it? Where's the demon? Tanjiro's eyes narrowed as he scanned the darkness, his hand steady on the hilt of his sword. It's close. Stay alert. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows at the top of the staircase. The demon was tall and gaunt, its skin as pale as the moonlight that filtered through the windows. Its eyes glowed with an eerie red light, and a wicked smile twisted its lips. You're too late, little slayers, the demon hissed. The lord of this house is already mine, and soon you will be too. Without hesitation, Inosuke charged forward, his swords flashing in the dim light. I'll tear you apart, you ugly monster! But the demon was fast, unnaturally fast. It disappeared into the shadows just as Inosuke's blade slashed through the air, reappearing behind him with a cruel laugh. Inosuke barely had time to react as the demon swiped at him with its razor-sharp claws. Tanjiro leapt into action, blocking the demon's attack with his sword and pushing it back with all his strength. Stay focused, Inosuke. We can't let it get the upper hand. Zenitsu, shaking but determined, positioned himself to strike. Thunder breathing, first form. He unleashed a lightning-fast attack, aiming for the demon's head. But the demon was ready. It dodged the strike with inhuman speed, its mocking laughter filling the hall. You'll have to do better than that, little slayer. Tanjiro's mind raced as he tried to find a way to outmaneuver the demon. It was fast, too fast, and its ability to blend into the shadows made it nearly impossible to predict its movements. But then he remembered the earlier part of their journey, the calm, the peace they had felt by the brook. Everyone, calm your breathing, Tanjiro called out, his voice steady and commanding. We need to stay focused and work together. Remember the peace we felt earlier. Use that to clear your mind and focus on the battle. The others nodded, taking deep breaths to steady themselves. The tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of calm determination. Nezuko, who had been watching intently, stepped forward, her eyes glowing with resolve. She had been quiet, but now she was ready to join the fight. With a swift motion, she unleashed a flurry of kicks at the demon, forcing it back and giving the others a moment to regroup. Tanjiro took the opportunity to focus his breathing, centering himself. He could feel the connection between his heart and his sword, the flow of energy that guided his every move. With a determined gaze, he advanced on the demon, his movements fluid and precise. The demon snarled in frustration, realizing that its usual tactics were no longer working. The calm determination of the demon slayers was throwing it off balance, disrupting its rhythm. Zenitsu, now more focused, prepared another attack. Thunder breathing! First form! This time, his strike was faster, more precise, and aimed directly at the demon's heart. The demon barely had time to react, as Zenitsu's blade pierced its chest, the force of the attack sending it crashing to the ground. It let out a final guttural cry as it dissolved into a cloud of ash and dust. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the sound of their heavy breathing. The demon was gone, its presence erased from the mansion, leaving behind a sense of peace that slowly began to fill the space. Tanjiro sheathed his sword, his heart still pounding but his mind clear. "We did it," he said softly. "The demon is gone." Inosuke, breathing heavily but grinning, nodded. "That was too easy. I barely even broke a sweat." Zenitsu collapsed onto the floor, relief flooding through him. I can't believe we did it. We actually did it." Nezuko smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the calm that had returned to the mansion. As they stood there, the tension and fear that had gripped them earlier melted away, replaced by a deep sense of accomplishment and peace. The mansion, once a place of darkness and despair, now felt warm and welcoming, as if it had been cleansed of the evil that had taken root there. The team took a moment to rest, the calm of the night outside beginning to seep back into their souls. They knew their journey was far from over, but for now, they had found a moment of peace. A moment to reflect on the battles they had fought and the bonds they had forged. As they prepared to leave the mansion, Tanjiro couldn't help but think of Hiro and his mother, safe and sound in their little house. He smiled, knowing that their brief detour had been worth it, and that the peace they had found along the way had been the key to their victory. With the night still young and the stars shining brightly above, the Demon Slayer team set off once more, their hearts light and their spirits high, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey home. The battle with the demon had left the team both exhausted and invigorated. The sense of accomplishment from their victory filled them with a renewed determination. But the night was not over yet. They still had to make their way back to the town and ensure that the Lord was safe. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a gentle light over the landscape as they made their way through the forest. The air was cool and the sounds of the night, rustling leaves, distant hoots of owls, and the occasional chirp of crickets, created a soothing symphony that accompanied their journey. Tanjiro led the way, his senses still alert for any signs of danger, though he felt more at ease now that the demon had been defeated. Beside him, Nezuko walked quietly, her eyes reflecting the light of the moon. Zenitsu and Inosuke followed close behind, the latter still buzzing with energy from the fight. As they walked, Tanjiro couldn't help but think back on the events of the night. The unexpected detour to help Hiro and his mother had seemed like a distraction at first, but it had ultimately prepared them for the battle with the demon. The peace they had found in that small moment had been a crucial part of their victory. Zenitsu, sensing Tanjiro's reflective mood, spoke up. "Hey, Tanjiro, do you think that kid and his mom are okay? I mean, we left them alone in that house. What if there are more demons?" Tanjiro smiled reassuringly. "I'm sure they're fine, Zenitsu. The demon we fought was the only one around here, and we made sure they were safe before we left. Besides, the peace we felt back there, it was almost like the forest was watching over them." Zenitsu nodded, though he still looked a bit concerned. "Yeah, I guess you're right. But it's weird, isn't it? How peaceful it was, even with all the danger around." Inosuke, who had been listening quietly, snorted. "You're overthinking it, Zenitsu. We won, didn't we? That's all that matters." Tanjiro chuckled softly. "Inosuke's right, in his own way. But I think it's important to remember that peace isn't just something we fight for. It's something we find along the way. It's those moments that remind us why we're doing this in the first place." Nezuko hummed in agreement, her gaze drifting up to the stars that sparkled above them. The night sky was clear, and the constellations seemed to dance in the heavens, a reminder of the vastness and beauty of the world they were protecting. As they continued walking, the path began to widen, and the forest gradually gave way to the open fields that surrounded the town. The lights of the village could be seen in the distance, glowing warmly against the darkness of the night. "We're almost there," Tanjiro said, a note of relief in his voice. "Let's make sure the Lord is safe, and then we can rest." When they reached the edge of the town, they found it quiet and still, the streets empty as the townsfolk slept in their homes. The mansion of the local lord stood at the far end of the village, its grand silhouette illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns that lined the walkway leading to the entrance. As they approached the mansion, they were greeted by one of the lord's servants, an elderly man with a kind face who had clearly been waiting for their return. "Thank you for coming," the servant said, bowing deeply. "The Lord has been most anxious, but he will be relieved to hear that the demon has been dealt with." Tanjiro nodded, returning the bow with a respectful one of his own. "The demon is gone. The Lord and the village are safe now." The servant's face broke into a relieved smile. "I cannot thank you enough. The Lord will want to thank you personally. Please come inside and rest. You must be exhausted." The team exchanged glances and Tanjiro nodded in agreement. They had earned a moment of rest after the night's events. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere was warm and welcoming, a stark contrast to the dark and foreboding presence they had faced earlier. The Lord, a man of noble bearing but gentle eyes, greeted them with heartfelt gratitude, offering them food and drink to replenish their strength. As they sat together in the dining hall, the tension that had been present throughout the night finally melted away completely. They shared stories of their journey, laughing at Inosuke's brashness and Zenitsu's nervousness, and reflecting on the peace they had found in the midst of their mission. The Lord listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "You have done more than just rid my home of a demon. You have restored peace to this village, and for that, I am forever in your debt." Tanjiro smiled humbly. "We're just glad we could help. The peace we found tonight reminded us of why we do this, to protect moments like these." The Lord nodded, his gaze drifting to the window where the first light of dawn was beginning to break. "Peace is a precious thing, hard-earned and easily lost. But with people like you fighting to protect it, I believe it will endure." As the first rays of the sun began to filter through the windows, the team felt a deep sense of contentment. The night had been long and filled with challenges, but it had also been a journey of growth, reflection, and ultimately, victory. With their mission complete, the Demon Slayer team prepared to leave, their hearts lighter and their spirits renewed. They knew there would be more battles ahead, more demons to face. But for now, they had found a moment of peace. A moment that would carry them forward on their journey. As they stepped out into the morning light, Tanjiro took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. He turned to his friends, a smile on his lips. "Let's keep going," he said. "There's still a lot of work to do, but with moments like these, I know we can face anything." The others nodded in agreement, and together they set off on the next leg of their journey, the memory of the night and the peace they had found guiding them forward. Goba, a new dawn. The journey back to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters was filled with a sense of quiet satisfaction. The sun had fully risen, casting a golden light over the landscape, and the world seemed to be awakening from the shadows of the night. Birds sang in the trees, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze provided a soothing background to their thoughts. Tanjiro walked at the head of the group, his thoughts drifting back to the events of the previous night. The battle with the demon had been intense, but it had also been a reminder of the importance of staying calm and focused, even in the face of danger. The peace they had found along the way had been their greatest weapon, giving them the clarity they needed to defeat the demon. Zenitsu, walking beside Tanjiro, seemed to be in a reflective mood as well. "You know, Tanjiro, I think last night taught me something important. It's not just about being strong or fast. It's about staying calm and clear-headed. If we let fear control us, we won't be able to do our best." Tanjiro nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "You're right, Zenitsu. Fear is natural, but we can't let it overwhelm us. Finding peace in the midst of chaos, that's what gives us the strength to keep going." Inosuke, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke up. "I don't get it. We fought the demon and won. What's all this talk about peace?" Tanjiro chuckled softly. "It's not just about the fight, Inosuke. It's about understanding why we fight. If we only focus on the battles, we lose sight of what we're protecting. Peace isn't just the absence of conflict. It's the presence of something worth fighting for." Inosuke scratched his head, looking slightly confused but thoughtful. I guess that makes sense. But I still like fighting." Zenitsu laughed, the sound light and carefree. "Of course you do, Inosuke. But maybe next time we can find a way to win without going straight for the fight. There's more than one way to defeat a demon, after all." Nezuko, who had been listening quietly, nodded in agreement, her gentle expression reflecting the calm that had settled over the group. She didn't need to speak to convey her thoughts. Her presence alone was enough. As they continued walking, The path began to climb, leading them up a hill that overlooked the surrounding countryside. The view was breathtaking, with rolling hills stretching out as far as the eye could see, dotted with small villages and patches of forest. The sun bathed everything in a warm, golden glow, making the world seem almost magical. At the top of the hill, the group paused to take in the view. It was a moment of pure serenity, a stark contrast to the darkness they had faced the night before. "This is what we're fighting for," Tanjiro said softly, his voice filled with quiet reverence. "For moments like this, for the beauty of the world, it's easy to forget sometimes with all the darkness we face. But it's moments like these that remind us why we keep going." Zenitsu nodded, his eyes shining with emotion. "Yeah, it's worth it. All the fear, all the battles, it's worth it for this." Inosuke, for once, didn't have anything to say. He simply stood there, taking in the view, his usual bravado replaced by a rare moment of introspection. Nezuko, standing beside her brother, smiled softly, her hand gently resting on his arm. She understood, perhaps more than anyone, the importance of these moments. They were a reminder of the world they were fighting to protect. A world filled with beauty, hope, and peace. As they stood there, the wind gently tousling their hair, they felt a deep sense of connection to the world around them. The battles they had fought, the demons they had slain, the peace they had found. It was all part of a greater purpose, one that bound them together and gave them the strength to keep moving forward. With a deep breath, Tanjiro turned to his friends, a determined look in his eyes. "Let's keep going. There's still a long journey ahead, but with moments like this to guide us, I know we can face anything." The others nodded in agreement, their hearts filled with a renewed sense of purpose. Together, they began the descent down the hill, their steps light and their spirits high. As they made their way back to the headquarters, they knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be more demons to face, more battles to fight, but they also knew that they would find peace along the way, moments of calm and beauty that would remind them of why they fought and give them the strength to continue their journey. And so, with the sun shining brightly overhead and the world spread out before them, the Demon Slayer team walked on, their hearts filled with hope and determination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The return to headquarters. The journey back to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters was marked by a sense of quiet camaraderie. The bond between the team had grown stronger through their shared experiences, and the peace they had found during the night's mission lingered in their hearts, giving them a renewed sense of purpose. As they approached the headquarters, the familiar sight of the sprawling complex came into view. Nestled within a dense forest that offered both protection and seclusion, the tall wooden gates stood open, welcoming them back after their successful mission. The courtyard was bustling with activity as other demon slayers went about their duties, training and preparing for their own missions. The air was filled with the sound of swords clashing, voices calling out commands, and the occasional burst of laughter from those enjoying a brief moment of respite. Tanjiro led his team through the courtyard, his heart swelling with pride as he observed the dedication and discipline of his fellow demon slayers. They were all part of something much larger than themselves. A collective effort to protect the world from the scourge of demons and preserve the peace that they had fought so hard to achieve. As they made their way to the main building, they were greeted by one of the senior members of the corps, a stern-looking man with a scar across his cheek. He nodded approvingly at the group, his expression softening slightly as he addressed Tanjiro. "Welcome back, Tanjiro. I've received word of your success. The demon has been vanquished, and the Lord's mansion is safe once more. You and your team have done well." Tanjiro bowed respectfully. "Thank you, sir. We encountered some unexpected challenges along the way, but we managed to overcome them." The senior demon slayer raised an eyebrow. His interest piqued. "Unexpected challenges? Do tell." Tanjiro briefly recounted their detour to help Hiro and his mother, describing how the peace they had found during that moment of compassion had helped them in their battle against the demon. The senior demon slayer listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "It seems you've learned an important lesson, Tanjiro," he said after a moment of reflection. "Strength and skill are crucial in our line of work, but so is the ability to remain calm and focused, even in the face of danger. The peace you found along the way was just as important as the battle itself. It's a lesson that many take years to learn." Tanjiro nodded, humbled by the acknowledgement. "We were reminded of why we fight, to protect the peace and beauty of this world. It's easy to lose sight of that in the midst of battle, but it's what keeps us going." The senior demon slayer smiled faintly, a rare expression of warmth. "Indeed. Never forget that, Tanjiro. It's what separates us from the demons we fight." With that, he dismissed the group, instructing them to rest and recuperate after their mission. As they walked away, Tanjiro couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in how far they had come. The lessons they had learned, the bonds they had forged, and the peace they had found. It all felt like a step forward in their journey as demon slayers. The team made their way to their quarters, where they were finally able to relax and unwind after the long night. The room was simple but comfortable, with futons laid out on the tatami floor and a low table set with tea and snacks. Zenitsu immediately collapsed onto one of the futons, letting out a sigh of relief. "Finally, we can rest. I don't know about you guys, but I'm exhausted." Inosuke, who still had energy to spare, began pacing the room, his hands clenched into fists. "I'm not tired. I'm ready for another fight." Tanjiro chuckled, shaking his head. "You never change, Inosuke. But even you need to rest. We've been through a lot, and it's important to let our bodies recover." Nezuko, who had been sitting quietly by the window, nodded in agreement, her gentle expression conveying the importance of rest and reflection. As they settled into their room, the team reflected on the night's events, sharing their thoughts and feelings with one another. It was a rare moment of vulnerability and openness, a chance to connect on a deeper level and strengthen the bonds that held them together. Tanjiro, ever the leader, spoke with quiet determination. "We've faced many challenges, and there will be more to come. But I believe in us. We've grown stronger, not just as fighters, but as friends. And as long as we stay true to our purpose, we'll continue to find peace in the midst of the battles we fight." Zenitsu, who had been listening intently, nodded in agreement. "Yeah, you're right, Tanjiro. We've come a long way, and we've got each other's backs. That's what makes us strong." Inosuke, despite his usual bravado, softened slightly as he looked at his friends. "Yeah, we're a team, and I wouldn't trade that for anything." Nezuko smiled, her presence a comforting reminder of the love and support that bound them all together. As they sipped their tea and shared stories, the tension of the night melted away completely, replaced by a deep sense of peace and contentment. They knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but they also knew that they would face it together, with the strength and unity that had carried them through so many challenges already. As the night gave way to dawn, the team finally settled down to sleep, their hearts light and their minds at ease. The peace they had found along their journey, both in the midst of battle and in the quiet moments in between, would continue to guide them forward, giving them the strength to face whatever lay ahead. And as they drifted off to sleep, the memory of the night's mission, of the peace they had fought for, and the bonds they had strengthened, remained with them, a source of comfort and inspiration that would carry them through the days to come. Rest and reflection. The days that followed their return to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters were filled with a sense of calm and recovery. The team had faced many challenges, but now they had the opportunity to rest and reflect on their experiences. The peace they had found during their mission lingered with them, a reminder of the importance of balance in their lives as demon slayers. Tanjiro spent much of his time in quiet meditation, sitting by the koi pond in the courtyard. The water was clear and still, reflecting the bright blue sky above. The fish swam lazily beneath the surface, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the dark shadows they had faced during their battles. As he watched the fish, Tanjiro's thoughts drifted back to the night of the mission. He remembered the fear and tension, but also the moments of peace and clarity that had guided them to victory. It was those moments, he realized, that gave them the strength to keep going. Zenitsu, meanwhile, took to training with renewed focus. He practiced his thunder breathing forms with a calm determination, his movements fluid and precise. The fear that had once held him back seemed to have less of a hold on him now. Instead, he found peace in the rhythm of his training, each strike and movement a testament to his growth. Inosuke, despite his usual energy, also took the time to rest and reflect. He spent his days exploring the forests surrounding the headquarters, finding solace in the beauty of nature. The trees, the animals, the fresh air. It all reminded him of the peace they had found during their journey, and it gave him a sense of connection to the world they were fighting to protect. Nezuko, ever the quiet presence, stayed close to her brother, offering him comfort and support. She understood the importance of peace, not just in battle but in life as well. Her gentle nature was a source of strength for the team, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was always light to be found. As the days passed, the team began to feel the pull of their next mission. The peace they had found during their rest was a gift, but they knew their duty was far from over. There were still demons to fight, still people to protect, and still peace to be preserved. One evening, as they gathered around a small fire in the courtyard, Tanjiro spoke up, his voice steady and filled with purpose. "We've had time to rest and reflect, and I'm grateful for that. But we're demon slayers, and our work isn't done. There are still people out there who need us, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." Zenitsu nodded, his expression serious. "I'm ready, Tanjiro. I've been practicing, and I feel stronger. But more than that, I feel calm. I know we can handle whatever comes our way." Inosuke, always eager for a fight, grinned beneath his boar mask. "Let's go. I'm ready to take down more demons. Nothing can stop us now. Nezuko, her eyes reflecting the glow of the fire, smiled softly, her silent support echoing the sentiments of the group. Tanjiro looked around at his friends, his heart swelling with pride. We've come a long way, and we've grown stronger together. Whatever challenges we face next, we'll face them as a team, and we'll remember the peace we've found along the way. It's what gives us the strength to keep going. The others nodded in agreement, their resolve clear. The peace they had found during their journey had strengthened their bonds and prepared them for the battles ahead. They knew that their path would not be easy, but they also knew that as long as they had each other, they could overcome anything. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, the team felt a deep sense of unity and purpose. They were ready for whatever came next, confident in their abilities and in the peace that guided them. And so, with the night stretching out before them and the promise of a new day on the horizon, the Demon Slayer team prepared for their next mission. The peace they had found, both in their battles and in their rest, would continue to guide them, giving them the strength to face the darkness and protect the world they loved. Athanamas, a new challenge. As dawn broke over the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, the team received word of a new mission. It was a summon that came with an air of urgency, delivered by a breathless messenger who had traveled through the night to reach them. Tanjiro, always the first to rise, was the one to receive the message. The urgency in the messenger's voice told him that this was no ordinary mission. It was something more, a challenge that would test their strength, resolve, and the peace they had worked so hard to find. Gathering his team, Tanjiro read the message aloud. There's a demon terrorizing a village to the east. It's stronger than anything we've faced before, and it's already claimed several lives. The villagers are desperate for help. Zenitsu paled slightly at the description, but he steeled himself, knowing that there was no room for fear now. It sounds dangerous, but we've faced tough demons before. We can do this. Inosuke, as always, was eager for the fight. Let's go. I've been itching for a real challenge. Nezuko, standing beside her brother, gave a determined nod. She was ready, as always, to face whatever danger lay ahead. Tanjiro smiled at his friends, their determination and courage filling him with confidence. We've trained hard, and we've grown stronger together. This mission will be tough, but I believe in us. We'll face this demon and protect the village, just like we always do. With that, they set off, their hearts filled with resolve. The journey to the village was long, but the peace they had found in their rest carried them forward, giving them the strength to face the challenges that awaited them. As they approached the village, the air grew heavy with the scent of blood and despair. The once thriving community was now a place of fear, its streets deserted and its homes dark. The villagers had barricaded themselves inside, too afraid to venture out after sundown. Tanjiro led the way, his senses on high alert. The scent of the demon was strong, its presence oppressive. He could feel the fear in the air, the weight of the despair that had settled over the village like a dark cloud. They found the village elder waiting for them at the entrance, his face lined with worry. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "We've lost so many. We're at our wits' end. Please, you must help us." Tanjiro bowed respectfully. "We'll do everything we can. Can you tell us where the demon was last seen? The elder pointed toward the outskirts of the village, where the forest loomed dark and foreboding. It's been hiding in the woods, coming out at night to attack. We've tried to defend ourselves, but it's too powerful. Our weapons are useless against it. Zenitsu swallowed hard, but he stood firm. Don't worry, sir. We'll take care of it. That's what we're here for. Inosuke cracked his knuckles, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Finally, a real fight. Let's go find that demon and tear it apart. Nezuko, always the silent support, nodded in agreement. Her presence a steadying force for the team. As they prepared to face the demon, Tanjiro couldn't help but think back to the lessons they had learned during their previous mission. The peace they had found, the clarity it had given them. It would be their greatest weapon in this battle as well. The team moved into the forest, their senses alert to every sound and movement. The air was thick with tension, the shadows deeper and more oppressive than before. But despite the danger, there was a sense of calm that lingered with them, a reminder of the peace they had found and the strength it had given them. They followed the scent of the demon deeper into the woods, the path winding through dense trees and underbrush. The darkness seemed to close in around them, but they pressed on, their determination unwavering. Finally, they reached a clearing where the demon waited, its form shrouded in shadow. It was a monstrous creature, its body twisted and grotesque, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The air around it seemed to pulse with dark energy, a tangible force that pressed down on them like a weight. Tanjiro took a deep breath, centering himself. The peace he had found in their previous battles, the calm that had guided them to victory, it was there, waiting for him to tap into it. He knew that this battle would be difficult, but he also knew that they had the strength to win. With a nod to his friends, Tanjiro drew his sword. Let's do this. Remember to stay calm, stay focused, and work together. We can't let this demon defeat us. Zenitsu and Inosuke nodded, their expressions serious. Nezuko stepped forward, her eyes glowing with determination. The battle was fierce, the demon's power overwhelming at times, but the team fought with a calm determination, their movements fluid and precise. They had faced darkness before, and they knew that the key to victory was not just strength, but the peace they carried within them. As the demon lunged at them, its claws slashing through the air, Tanjiro moved with lightning speed, his sword slicing through the shadows. Zenitsu unleashed a powerful, thunder-breathing strike, the force of his attack sending shockwaves through the clearing. Inosuke, with his unmatched ferocity, tore into the demon with relentless fury, his dual swords flashing in the dim light. Nezuko, her strength and speed unmatched, delivered a series of devastating blows. Her kicks and punches hitting with the force of a tidal wave. The demon howled in pain and anger, its dark energy lashing out in a desperate attempt to fend off the relentless assault. But the team was united, their movements perfectly synchronized, their resolve unshakable. They fought not just with their bodies, but with their hearts, drawing on the peace they had found during their journey to guide them. Finally, with a final powerful strike, Tanjiro severed the demon's head, his sword cutting through the darkness like a beacon of light. The demon let out one last agonized scream before dissolving into ash, its malevolent presence erased from the world. The clearing fell silent. the oppressive weight lifting as the demon's dark energy dissipated. The air was still, the tension replaced by a deep sense of peace and relief. Tanjiro sheathed his sword, his chest heaving with exertion, but his heart light with victory. "We did it," he said softly, his voice filled with quiet satisfaction. Zenitsu collapsed onto the ground, his exhaustion finally catching up with him. "I can't believe we did it. That was the toughest one yet." Inosuke, breathing heavily, grinned triumphantly. "That was a real fight. I'm ready for the next one." Nezuko, always calm and composed, smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. As they stood there, the first light of dawn began to filter through the trees, casting a golden glow over the clearing. The village was safe, the demon defeated, and once again, they had found peace in the midst of battle. With their mission complete, the team began the journey back to the village, their hearts light and their spirits high. They had faced a great challenge and emerged victorious, their bonds stronger than ever. As they walked through the forest, the sun rising behind them, Tanjiro couldn't help but smile. The peace they had found, the lessons they had learned, it was all a part of their journey. A journey that would continue as long as there were demons to fight and people to protect. And with the sun shining brightly above them, the team knew that they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their abilities and in the peace that guided them. The village's gratitude. The return to the village was met with overwhelming gratitude. The villagers, who had lived in fear for so long, emerged from their homes as the sun fully rose, their faces filled with hope and relief. Children ran through the streets, laughing and playing, their joy a stark contrast to the fear that had once gripped the town. The village elder, who had greeted them upon their arrival, now stood at the entrance of the village, tears of gratitude shining in his eyes. He bowed deeply as Tanjiro and his team approached, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you," the elder said, his voice trembling. "Thank you for saving our village. We owe you our lives." Tanjiro, ever humble, returned the bow with deep respect. "We're just glad we could help. It's our duty to protect those in need, and we're honored to have been able to bring peace to your village." The villagers gathered around, their expressions a mixture of awe and gratitude. They brought gifts of food, clothing, and other supplies, insisting that the demon slayers accept their offerings as a token of their appreciation. Zenitsu, always shy in the face of such attention, blushed deeply as he accepted a bundle of fresh bread from a smiling woman. "Thank you. We really appreciate it." Inosuke, for once, seemed slightly overwhelmed by the outpouring of gratitude. He accepted the gifts with a gruff nod, muttering something about not needing them, but clearly touched by the villagers' kindness. Nezuko, her eyes filled with warmth, accepted the offerings with a gentle smile, her presence bringing a sense of calm to those around her. As they moved through the village, the team was greeted with cheers and applause, the villagers expressing their thanks in every way they could. The once fearful town was now filled with life and joy. The dark cloud of despair lifted by the efforts of the demon slayers. The village elder led them to the town square, where a large feast had been prepared in their honor. The smell of freshly cooked food filled the air, and the sound of laughter and music echoed through the streets. It was a celebration of life, a celebration of the peace that had been restored. As they sat down to eat, Tanjiro couldn't help but feel a deep sense of fulfillment. The mission had been difficult, but it had also been a reminder of why they fought. The peace they had found in their journey, the bonds they had strengthened, it was all worth it for moments like this. Zenitsu, his usual anxiety forgotten in the face of such joy, laughed as he shared stories with the villagers, his fear replaced by a sense of pride and accomplishment. Inosuke, who had initially been skeptical of the celebration, soon found himself caught up in the festivities. His competitive spirit ignited as he challenged the villagers to various games and contests. Nezuko, ever the calm presence, sat quietly beside her brother, her eyes reflecting the happiness of the people around her. She knew that this peace was fleeting, but it was also precious, a moment to be cherished and remembered. As the day wore on, the celebration continued, the village alive with the sounds of music, laughter, and joy. The team, though exhausted from their battles, found themselves renewed by the warmth and gratitude of the people they had saved. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light over the village, the elder approached Tanjiro, his expression filled with deep respect. "You and your team have done more than just save our lives. You've given us hope, and for that, we are forever in your debt." Tanjiro smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "We're just glad we could help. Peace is something we all have to fight for, and we're honored to have been able to bring it to your village." The elder nodded, his eyes shining with tears once more. "May you continue to find peace on your journey, and may you always be guided by the light of hope." With those words, the team knew it was time to move on. They had brought peace to this village, but there were others who needed their help. Their journey was far from over, but they knew that the peace they had found here would carry them forward. As they prepared to leave, the villagers gathered once more, cheering and waving as the demon slayers set off on their next mission. The village, once shrouded in fear, now stood as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of peace and the strength of those who fought to protect it. And as they walked into the fading light of the day, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Nezuko felt a deep sense of unity and purpose. They had faced darkness and emerged victorious, their bonds stronger than ever, and their hearts filled with the peace they had fought so hard to protect. The journey continues. The road stretched out before them, a winding path that led through forests, mountains, and valleys. The Demon Slayer team walked side by side, their steps light and their spirits high. The mission to the village had been a success, and the peace they had found along the way had given them the strength to continue their journey. Tanjiro led the way, his keen senses attuned to the world around them. The air was fresh and cool, the scent of pine and earth filling his lungs with each breath. He felt a deep connection to the land they were traversing, a sense of belonging that anchored him in the present moment. Zenitsu walked beside him, his usual anxiety replaced by a quiet confidence. The battles they had fought, the peace they had found, it had all given him a new perspective on their journey. He no longer feared the challenges ahead, but welcomed them as opportunities to grow stronger and protect those he cared about. Inosuke, as always, was full of energy, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. But there was a new sense of calm in his movements, a focus that had been honed by their recent experiences. He knew that strength alone wasn't enough. It was the peace within that gave him the clarity to fight. Nezuko, walking quietly beside her brother, felt a deep sense of contentment. She had seen the darkness of the world, but she had also seen the light, the moments of peace that made the journey worthwhile. Her bond with her brother and their friends had only grown stronger, and she knew that together they could face anything. As they traveled, they encountered other travelers on the road, merchants, farmers, and families, making their way to various destinations. Each greeted the demon slayers with respect, their eyes filled with admiration for the warriors who protected them from the darkness. The team stopped occasionally to rest, sharing food and stories as they sat by the roadside. The peace they had found during their journey lingered with them, a constant reminder of what they were fighting for. One evening, as they made camp by a small stream, Zenitsu spoke up, his voice thoughtful. "You know, Tanjiro, I've been thinking a lot about our journey. We've faced so many challenges, but we've also found so much peace. It's like the world is showing us that even in the darkest times, there's still light." Tanjiro nodded, his expression reflective. "I think you're right, Zenitsu. We've seen a lot of darkness, but we've also seen how people can come together and find peace, even in the hardest times. That's what gives us the strength to keep going." Inosuke, who had been sharpening his swords, looked up with a grin. "Yeah, and it's that peace that makes us stronger. We're unstoppable when we're calm and focused." Nezuko smiled softly, her eyes shining with quiet pride. She knew that their journey was far from over, but she also knew that they had already accomplished so much. The peace they had found would continue to guide them, giving them the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they sat by the fire, the sounds of the night around them, the team felt a deep sense of unity. They were more than just a group of warriors. They were a family, bound together by their shared experiences and their commitment to protecting the world from darkness. The fire crackled softly, the warmth of the flames a comforting presence in the cool night air. The stars twinkled above, a reminder of the vastness of the world and the many journeys still to come. Tanjiro looked around at his friends, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "We've come a long way, and we've grown so much. But our journey isn't over yet. There are still people who need our help, and there's still peace to be found. As long as we stick together, I know we can face anything." The others nodded in agreement, their resolve clear. They were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their abilities and in the peace that guided them. As the night wore on, they settled down to sleep, their hearts light and their minds at ease. The peace they had found, both in their battles and in their journey, would continue to be their greatest strength, giving them the clarity and focus they needed to protect the world they loved. And as they drifted off to sleep, the memory of their journey, the challenges they had faced, the peace they had found, and the bonds they had strengthened, remained with them, a source of comfort and inspiration that would carry them through the days to come. The promise of a new day. As dawn broke over the horizon, the Demon Slayer team awoke to the soft light of the morning sun filtering through the trees. The air was crisp and cool, filled with the sounds of birds singing and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. It was a new day, full of promise and possibility. Tanjiro stretched, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. The peace they had found during their journey had rejuvenated him. filling him with a sense of purpose and determination. He knew that their mission was far from over, but he also knew that they were ready for whatever lay ahead. Zenitsu, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, yawned and looked around at the peaceful landscape. "It's a beautiful morning," he said softly, a smile spreading across his face. "It feels like everything is going to be okay." Inosuke, already up and moving, grinned widely. "Of course it is. We're the strongest team there is. Nothing can stop us now." Nezuko, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the morning, nodded in agreement. She felt a deep sense of peace and contentment, knowing that they had already overcome so much and would continue to do so together. As they packed up their camp and prepared to continue their journey, the team felt a sense of anticipation. The road ahead was unknown, but they were ready to face it with the strength and unity they had cultivated along the way. Tanjiro led the way, his keen senses guiding them through the forest. The path was clear, the air fresh, and the world around them seemed to glow with the promise of a new day. As they walked, they encountered other travelers, some in need of help, others simply passing by on their own journeys. The demon slayers offered assistance where they could, their presence a reassuring reminder of the peace they worked so hard to protect. The day passed quickly, filled with moments of quiet reflection and camaraderie. The team shared stories and laughter as they walked, their bonds growing stronger with each step. By the time the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the landscape, they had reached the outskirts of a new village. The village was small but bustling with activity, its streets filled with the sounds of people going about their daily lives. Tanjiro could sense a subtle tension in the air, a feeling of unease that told him something was amiss. But there was also a sense of hope, a determination in the eyes of the villagers that suggested they were not easily defeated. As they entered the village, they were greeted by the village leader, a stern but kind woman who quickly explained the situation. A demon had been terrorizing the village for weeks, attacking under the cover of darkness and leaving destruction in its wake. The villagers had done their best to defend themselves, but they were in desperate need of help. Tanjiro listened carefully, his expression serious. "We're here to help," he said firmly. "We'll do whatever it takes to protect your village and bring peace back to your lives." The village leader nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you. We've been living in fear for too long. Your arrival gives us hope." Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Nezuko stood beside Tanjiro, their resolve clear. They were ready to face this new challenge, confident in their abilities and in the peace that guided them. As they prepared for the battle ahead, the team felt a deep sense of unity and purpose. They had faced darkness before, and they had always emerged stronger. This new mission would be no different. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in shadow. The time for battle was approaching, but the demon slayers were ready. The peace they had found during their journey, the bonds they had strengthened, it would all guide them in the fight to come. As the night fell and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, the team stood together, their hearts filled with determination. They knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face it with the strength and unity they had cultivated along the way. And as they looked out over the village, the promise of a new day shining in their eyes, they knew that they would continue to fight for peace, no matter what challenges lay ahead. For as long as there was darkness in the world, the demon slayers would stand as a beacon of hope, guided by the peace they had found and the bonds they had forged. And with that promise in their hearts, they stepped into the night, ready to face whatever came next.